Welcome to the first video on the second of my three playlists. This playlist, as you can see, will feature equipment from World War II, warships, tanks, planes, bombers, etc. And the idea for this playlist is that I will put this information up, and then people who look at them can mix and match and look at how ships or tanks or planes compare to each other. And this first video, we are looking at the German pocket battleship, the Admiral Graf Spee, which was supposed to be limited to 10,000 tons, okay, under treaty. But what you find with the German pocket battleships is they didn't really follow the treaty, of course. Ships like the Scharnhorst, the Bismarck, the Gneisenau will all be featured, as will warships from other countries. Later on, much later on in the series, of course, I'll cover the great Japanese battleship Yamato, amongst others. So let's take a look at the stats for the Admiral Graf Spee. Now, it came in at a displacement around 12,100 tons, so a few thousand tons over treaty condition, and its complement when full was 1,150 crew. The Graf Spee had a top speed of 26 knots, which is scary at 12,000 tons, and the length of the Admiral Graf Spee came in at 609 feet. It had a beam of 70 feet, and its draft was 21.5 feet. So a big warship, okay, and a fairly modern warship for its time, but not as big and chunky as some of the other ships. Like when we cover the British battleship, the Royal Oak, and other battleships, you will see the difference, you know, the French battleship Richelieu and others. Now, the armament of the Admiral Graf Spee, which caused an entire British fleet to go hunting it, okay, and they did eventually pin it following the battles of River Plate. But it certainly scared the Royal Navy, and they sent a fleet to hunt it down and destroy it, which is a pattern that you'll see going through further ships like the Bismarck. So the armament of the Admiral Graf Spee had 6 11-inch main guns, it had 8 6.9-inch guns, and it had 6 4.1-inch anti-aircraft guns, backed up by a further 8 37mm anti-aircraft guns and a further 10 20mm anti-aircraft guns. So obviously the Germans built their ships with a clear anti-aircraft defence in mind. It had less guns, okay, than some of the battleships you will see, but still was a heavily armed, dangerous warship for its time. The Admiral Graf Spee also had 8 21-inch torpedo tubes. So all of these videos like this are simply a little stat breakdown of the various equipment. Now, all of them will be color-coded, okay? Germany will go on black, USSR will go on red, the Brits will go on a sandy colour, the Americans will go on a green colour. So when you look at the playlist, once you get used to the colours, you will know which colour is for which nation. I will pick another separate colour for all the other nations who are not part of the main 5 powers: Japan, Germany, Russia, Britain, and the United States of America. So I will pick a separate independent colour to cover any other armies information. But this is the first video, and there are going to be hundreds of these, hundreds of them. Okay, well, I cover most of the main equipment of World War II. And like I say, the hope is that people can look at the Graf Spee here. Fantastic warship it was. And a terror, okay, to British shipping at the time. And then they can mix and match it, like when I upload the video on the Royal Oak, the Great Britain battleship. Then you can mix and match the numbers against each other, you know, check armaments, etc. So that is the first video on this playlist: armaments and equipment of World War II. The Admiral Graf Spee, which will be covered in my part 3 of World War II, is the first video on this playlist. I'm out for now.